What's up everybody, it's Dustin, back again with another video, and today we're gonna explore the deep blue sea and go robot hunting. Today, we're playing none other than SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. This game was highly cherished by the cult following it garnered ever since the original game came out way back in October of 2003 because of all the effort the devs went through to create this game. They even went to lengths to bring back a boss that was previously cut from the original game for the newly included multiplayer mode. Some say the remaster likely would have never been created had speedrunner Shift not ever ran it all this time. He was so important to the community that Purple Lamp was in communication with him during production to get his opinion on things while the game was in development, and after all that time, we got this. Before we even start the game, this main menu screen is just so fantastic. Just from here, we can tell a lot of heart and soul went into this project because the main menu is largely the same as the original, down to the animations, just with more modernized graphics. We begin the day before the robots attacked, and we see Plankton created them and accidentally flipped the switch, causing the robots to no longer obey him. After a quick cut, we swap over to SpongeBob and Patrick hanging out at SpongeBob's house. They share a few conversations before we see SpongeBob waking up the next day, and he walks out of his room and sees his house is in shambles. Then, we are immediately dropped in and introduced to the collectibles in this game, in shiny objects, which are used to open up paths and levels and to purchase golden spatulas. Golden spatulas are used to open up new sections of Bikini Bottom and various levels throughout the game. We can see right away as we explore SpongeBob's house and get introduced to his abilities that the developers over at Purple Lamp stayed very true to the source material. As we exit SpongeBob's house, we get to actually walk around the first section of Bikini Bottom. At first, it is a little jarring because everything is much more compact in comparison to the show. Like, Goo Lagoon is just in SpongeBob's backyard. After having a conversation with Plankton, we gain control. After doing some exploring around this first little area in Bikini Bottom, we find out about two more items in this game in underwear and golden underwear. Regular underwear acts as SpongeBob's health in this game. You start with 3, and naturally if you take 3 hits, you die. But there's also golden underwear that permanently increases your health by 1 hit. We also see all of these tikis which have different properties. There are regular wooden ones that hide when you walk up to them, ones that are made from stone, and some that even explode. These make up the main source really of getting shiny objects throughout the game. There are also socks throughout the game we can collect and give to Patrick in return for more golden spatulas. But now, we make our way to Jellyfish Fields, which honestly is the perfect introductory level to the game and does a great job at introducing all of the core mechanics. Each level is generally filled with lots of side quests to complete and collectibles to obtain. The goal of this first level of the game is to get to the top of Spork Mountain to get the King Jellyfish Jelly to alleviate Squidward's wounds from the jellyfish. As we make our way there, we're introduced to the platforming and level design and other mechanics we'll see later in the game, like wall jumping from wall to wall and character switching. In this level, we also get to play as Patrick, and he has different abilities to SpongeBob. So while SpongeBob has an uppercut and a slam, Patrick also has a slam, but his slam stuns enemies so Patrick can throw them. There are also other things across the game that Patrick can throw, like watermelons and ice cubes. As we make our way up to the top of the mountain, we find ourselves catching the King Jellyfish in the middle of a shower. He notices us, and the first boss fight begins. The fight has 3 phases, each one getting faster and spawning more jellyfish. Once King Jellyfish takes 3 hits, he's been defeated, and we are rewarded with the King Jellyfish Jelly. After we take it back to Squidward, we are rewarded with another golden spatula and we can move on to the next level. Downtown Bikini Bottom is a lot more focused on vertical platforming and introduces Sandy as a playable character. The main mission of this level is Mrs. Puff asks SpongeBob to find all of the steering wheels the robots have ripped off of the boats, so they can't escape the robots. This level, in my opinion, doesn't feel as satisfying and doesn't mean as much to me. Like, it doesn't feel as nostalgic as that opening Jellyfish Fields, because there's something magical about just like opening this game for the first time and seeing the title screen, watching that opening and going straight into that first level of the game and almost seemingly being transported back to your childhood when you truly got to play this game for the first time. However, despite that, the level is still fun, and the level also introduces the sponge roll, which, when we walk into it, SpongeBob turns into a ball and rolls around, which in turn means getting around a bit faster. After a short segment of climbing the rooftops, we go to the next screen and do, you guessed it, more rooftop climbing, but as Sandy, who is the most unique of the 3 playable characters in having the ability to glide with her lasso and being able to lasso her enemies to defeat them in one fell swoop. She also has this unique part of levels that she's playable in, where there are Texas-shaped hangars in the sky that Sandy can lasso and swing from to get from point A to point B. So the objective to this second room is Sandy is trying to get to the end of the room to replace Larry's antenna and improve his TV reception. After this, we take a short trip to the Space Needle to round out our collection of steering wheels and make our way back to Mrs. Puff. Afterwards, we get our golden spatula and make our way down to Goo Lagoon, where Larry tells SpongeBob the beach has been taken over by the robots, so no one can have any fun. We are then tasked with aligning all of the reflectors around the beach to hit the robot in the back. So we then venture through Goo Lagoon until we get to the Goo Lagoon Pier, which is almost like an amusement park. Mr. Krabs wants Patrick to get rid of all the robots at the pier so he can go back to making money. After we successfully do this, we are rewarded with yet another golden spatula, and we take a springboard to the last reflector and tell Larry that we did it. We then get a spatula and make our way to the second boss of the game. In my opinion, this is where the game starts to lose the nostalgia factor. Like, the bosses, strangely enough, don't feel anywhere near as fun as they did on the PS2, and that's partly because several voice lines were left unused in Rehydrated, and that takes away from the nostalgia for me a bit. But critiques aside, we must fight Robo-Sandy to save the Poseidome. After 3 short-lived phases switching between SpongeBob and Patrick, we save the dome and are rewarded with bubble bowling. This ability lets SpongeBob blow a bubble in the shape of a bowling ball to be able to solve more puzzles throughout the game. Speaking of, next up is for us to explore Sandy's tree dome. However, this is a 1-room level and is simply just a short romp around the tree dome where we have to destroy all the robots. Our next actual level is the Mermalair, where we've been tasked by Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy to re-enable the security and stop the prawn from escaping. This level is my least favorite level in the game, and it's for a very good reason. I hate the rolling ball puzzle. It took me a good 20 to 30 minutes to get it right, but it's even worse on the PS2 version, so I'll have to give the devs credit where it's due. Afterwards, we turn the security back on, and we go mano a mano with the prawn and just absolutely destroy it. We grab the spatula from our super duo and go on our merry way to rock bottom, which is kind of a slog to get through, but at least there is a callback to the rock bottom episode of the show. Mrs. Puff seems to be letting these robots get the best of her because she sent us on yet another fetch quest, but this time instead of steering wheels, we're after paintings that were stolen from the Rock Bottom Museum. After some platforming as SpongeBob and Sandy, we return the paintings and finish the level. Next up is Sand Mountain, and our goal here is to get rid of all the robots at the bottom of the slopes so people can begin to ride them again. This is a pretty fun level, and it's nice to have one that's less about platforming and it's more about just having a fun slide level. Afterwards, we receive yet another golden spatula, and next we have the third boss of the game, but before we get to that, let me just take a second to say thank you to everyone that supports me making these videos. You guys are the best. However, 96% of you guys are not subscribed. If you guys enjoy my content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now on to the boss fight. Robo-Patrick, much like Robo-Sandy, loses a lot of its charm in Rehydrated, honestly. It's largely the same, but it just doesn't hit the way it did back on the PS2. Also, much like Robo-Sandy, this fight is split into 3 phases, each time swapping the character you play as. After defeating Robo-Patrick and saving Squidward, we get another spatula and the Cruise Bubble ability, which basically is just a homing missile, as well as unlocking the final section of Bikini Bottom. Before we do anything though, we have to do pretty much the same thing we did in the Tree Dome, but instead inside of the Krusty Krab. After we clear out the robots, we go straight into Spongebob's Dream, which is actually a very unique level in a game like this. The level is made up of several mini-levels, and Spongebob's Dream just serves as the hub. The first of several mini-levels is Sandy's Dream, which is naturally themed around Texas, Squidward's Dream, which is themed around music, Mr. Krabs' Dream, which is themed around money, and Patrick's Dream, which is honestly my favorite of the bunch, because since there is nothing going on in his head, it's just blank. After this, we leave SpongeBob's Dream and go straight to Kelp Forest, which you might recognize from the episode of SpongeBob with the magic conch. Also, to note, the music here is interesting because it honestly doesn't sound like SpongeBob music, and it sounds more like something from Sesame Street than anything else. Here, our mission is to rescue all of the campers that have gotten lost in the forest while clearing out the robots. This is one of the shorter levels in the game for sure, but there isn't much here, so let's move on to the final platforming level of the game in the Flying Dutchman's graveyard. Here, we're tasked by the Flying Dutchman to destroy the robot pirate ship to prevent them from taking the Dutchman's treasure. After successfully doing so, the Dutchman had promised us a golden spatula, but he changes his mind. But after Sandy swiftly kicks his butt, he gives in and gives up the spatula once and for all. So now, all there's left to do is destroy the robots once and for all. We enter the chum bucket to see what all the fuss is about, and Plankton realizes all this time, the machine has been set to don't obey. Naturally, in classic cartoon fashion, he slaps a giant obey sticker on the machine, and he thinks it's gonna work. And it does, technically. The robots have been listening to Robo-Plankton, but he introduces us to Robo-Spongebob, who is Robo-Plankton's right-hand man. This fight has 2 phases, and is in my opinion the best boss fight in the entire game. The first phase has us using the cruise bubble to break all the green dots across Robo-Spongebob's body. After this, things get more personal and we take the fight inside of Robo-Spongebob. Here, we have to utilize all of the abilities we've unlocked in the game to break all the fuses that power Robo-Spongebob. After doing so, we have finally saved Bikini Bottom from all these robots, and everyone can finally rest easily. So with that, all in all, the game is largely a faithful recreation of the original. It's just in some spots it really just does not deliver in the same way as the source material. But overall, this is still a really fun experience, and I do recommend if you haven't already played it. I think a fair rating for this game is a nice 8.5 out of 10. And just like that, we've completed Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like and subscribe, and if this video gets 100 likes, I will make a retrospective for SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake. And once again, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.